shining individually, collectively transforming community, peace in our human family.
One love, one growth, as above, so below. Feel the pain in my soul, the red pill dissolve. Organized, no matter the cost. Politicians start wars, they don't fight, they sit in the poor. And nothing lasts forever as long as we stay together. Give hell to the masses, watch the unity rapture. This is for the kids and the culture. It's one love, one growth, one light, light warriors. Hey,
Hi.
nice to meet you. I'm
Nice to meet you
Jamal.
as well.
So, um, what, how do you? I was trying to pronounce your name. I'm horrible at names. Please forgive me. I want to
That's
do it the
okay.
right way. So,
It's pronounced Arkeria Robertson.
okay.
So
I
actually
was
it's
figuring
pronounced
Arcadia.
yeah, it's pronounced exactly how it's spelled. So I always tell
Oh,
people if you
awesome.
look at the spelling, you can pronounce the name.
Right, right. I wanted to make sure because some people they got like some, like for instance, my first name is Jamar and it has two R's and the second R is silent. Don't know why my mom did that to people, but I always have to tell people like yes, it's just say Jamar. You don't have to say Jamar or whatever. Like make it have a roar or a grr or something like that. There's no need for that. Thank you so much again for doing this and taking the time out of this beautiful Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. Um,
Same to you. Same to you.
to everybody out there too. Oh, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for
I'm a
having
huge
me.
like working class advocate. Oh, thank you so much for being on the show. Yes, I see we have a lag a little bit. That sucks. Let me see here if I could do something better with my. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, maybe it finally caught up. Hopefully, that doesn't happen again. Um, yeah, I'm a huge advocate for working class people. And I do a lot of music interviews with this podcast, but I also try to have like some real conversations as well too in the mix. Um,
Mhm.
because I think it's so important, especially as Black people, we need to be talking about a lot of issues that goes on, especially in our community. And one thing that we don't talk about as much is mental health or self care and stuff like that. I mean, now you see a lot of us talking about it now, but that really wasn't a thing at all, especially during my parents' generation. I'm pretty sure you could relate. So I wanted to definitely like when I saw your profile on the Matchmaker FM, which is such a great platform by the way. People that are looking for guests on their podcast, definitely plug into that. You'll find some amazing people. I saw your bio and I was like, wow, this is perfect. This is the perfect person to have on here. Like she seems very, very real, very, very genuine. I would love to have a conversation with this young lady. Um, so you have a master's degree? Um,
Yes, I do. Yes, it's in counseling.
Word.
From where you said? Oh wait, it was a
Hmm?
little lag on your end. Um,
Oh,
yes, I do have a master's degree in counseling from Xavier University of Louisiana.
nice, nice. What made you want to get into counseling? Is it like a personal experience that you see that was like a need that wasn't really supplied around, or
Um, so it's kind of it was a process for me. I knew I always wanted to be in the helping profession, but initially I went to school to be a psychiatrist. So still in the mental health field, but more so I would have been a medical doctor writing prescriptions. But once I got into college and started learning more about myself, I was like, I don't think I really want to do this. It's not for me. Um, so I said, okay, well, maybe I can be a psychologist so I can do more therapy, less script writing, and still help people. Well, once I graduated, at the time, I didn't feel I was ready to go straight into a PhD program. So I said, well, you know what? I will get my master's and then possibly go back and get my PhD. And I found out as a counselor, you can still practice as a master's level without having to have your
Mm.
doctorate.
Oh, wow, nice. I didn't know that. I thought you
Yeah,
needed a
so
doctorate for that.
no, a lot of people do. So I've had people mistaking me for a doctor. They may say, "Oh, you're a psychiatrist or a psychologist," and I have to correct them, like, "No, I don't want to misrepresent myself. I'm a master's level counselor." So I always stress the master's level part because
Hmm.
people, well, I don't, like I said, I don't want to misrepresent myself because that's unethical.
Right, right. That's. I just learned that. I didn't know that there were. I thought that everybody that has counseling under their belt is like a doctor and stuff like that. I didn't know that. That's really dope. But even just having a master's degree, that's even like dope as hell too. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's cream of the crop. My mama, that's my mama would be like talking about 24/7. I don't need this. My child got a master's degree type of conversation going on.
That proud parent.
Right? But in all seriousness, though, thank you so much for putting in that work. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure you're saving lives out there, which we're going to get into. But I just want to like congratulate you from afar, a little stranger from bum the fuck Connecticut, stuff like that. So you're from Louisiana?
Yes, yes.
Where I have family down in North Carolina. I was half raised down there on a little farm, um, Pine Top, North Carolina. What's the
Okay.
atmosphere in Louisiana? What's the scene? Are you like near the city, or are you still like near the nice, quiet old country, which is amazing?
So I grew up in the country.
Hmm.
Growing up, I hated it because like we were so far from everything. I always would tell people like we don't even have a McDonald's. We have to drive 20 minutes just to get to McDonald's, and you know McDonald's is everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's I live right outside of Baton Rouge right now, so it's like an up and coming
Nice.
area. It's it's kind of laid back, I guess. A couple of years ago, I used to go because I went to school in New Orleans, and once I moved back,
Hmm.
I would still go to New Orleans a lot. But since COVID, I haven't been going as much.
Okay. Okay. And how is it over there right now? I know that there was another hurricane that hit.
Yes, people still are not in their home. They still some people still don't have power. So just a lot of recovery.
Mm, mm, yeah.
But where I live, it wasn't too much damage, so it's like it's good in my area.
Oh, that's good. That's good. They make it seem like on the news that like Louisiana is gone right now. Like that's all I'm seeing. I'm like, oh man, like we got hit with that same hurricane, but before that we got hit with another one. Um,
Mhm,
and there was a lot of flooding and stuff like that. Connecticut is rare to get hit. Um,
mhm.
but when it happens, everybody like loses their shit. They're like, I don't know what to do. So, you know,
Of course.
I'm excited that I still have power, and I like live in like a hilly area, so thank God. But like, damn man,
No.
like I used to work for a quick store. I used to work for an insurance company, um, called Legacy Contracting. I think they're still in Florida, and we used to literally. And I don't know if this could be controversial, but I'm not pro government really, so it's whatever. FEMA did not really give homeowners their checks. So we were making money off of building roofs for homeowners that had promises from FEMA that never followed through. And it ended up being a big business deal. Like big business deal.
Insurance, it can be controversial. One thing I
Right.
say, because as a therapist taking insurance, a lot of times I have to explain coverage to clients because they may not understand the difference between a deductible and a copay, or
Hmm.
sometimes it may cover medical benefits, but not mental health benefits. So I
Right.
always tell people, like, insurance, every insurance is different, but it definitely can be controversial dealing with. them.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They take their time, don't they? Um,
Yes, yes.
so so like, so you still like, I saw in your information that you still have like clients. So basically like you have people like that you like mentor into like self-care and awareness and giving them like good advice and stuff, like how does it look to be that kind of like what is the everyday process for being a counselor, basically is what I'm asking.
Okay, so as a counselor, you generally don't give advice, but what you do is you increase self awareness and give clients tools to help them to be able to function on their own. So my job is done when an ideal client is okay being able to manage life stresses without me. So
Mm,
generally, my job is for you to not need me anymore.
mm,
So what I do is, so say for instance, if you were my client, you would call, we would have a consultation, and that's when I find out what's going on with you, what you want to work on in counseling, and just to see if we would be a good fit, because not every counselor is a good fit for every client. And I
mm,
think it's important for people to realize that
mm.
sometimes
I
they
agree.
may, yeah, so sometimes they may have a bad experience with one client, with one counselor, and they say, "I'm done with therapy. All therapists are bad." But no, it was
Mm,
just that particular therapist. Find you a better therapist. So that's just like any type of, so a relationship with your therapist is like any type of relationship. Just because the person isn't a good fit for you doesn't mean you shouldn't try again. So that's why a consultation is important, to make sure that the fit is there.
mm,
So after that, if you're using insurance, I always recommend calling verify coverage, because, like I said, every insurance is different, and don't want it to be a situation where insurance doesn't cover it, because then they will be responsible for the payment. So once the consent background information is filled out, I then take the person, we have a first session. The initial session is where I find out some of what's going on, what you're struggling with, what you're having difficulty with. And mostly I work with clients dealing with stress and anxiety, and sometimes it's depression. And I found that through working with them, it was a lack of self care. So my goal is to help decrease the stress and anxiety and increase self care. So through the use of self care, I found that they are less stressed, they are less anxious. So they, when they come to me, we explore what's not working for them. I give them tools. I tell them things that they can do outside of the sessions, and we work on, like, look at their interests, look at their communications, boundaries, all of those things, and they do, and they go back and they do it, and then they'll come and we'll discuss what worked and what didn't work for them.
thank you. And so do how what is the process, like how long is the process? Do you like stay with your client in contact with them for like is it a months process or is it like a year process?
It depends on the client. Some people, they're done in 3 months. Some people it's 6 months. Some people it may take a year. Because I do meet with clients weekly and bi-weekly. So um, it just depends on like where they are in their recovery process and on their journey, and that's how long it will take. Because one thing I always stress to the clients is most of the work that you do will happen outside of my office. So if I'm telling you things, I'm giving you tools, we're talking about and exploring, but you're going out and doing the same things, then change won't happen. You have to be the one willing to change. So sometimes it may take a minute getting them to the mindset that they're in control. So it just depends.
Mm, okay. And so I like how you mentioned that like every counselor or therapist is not basically a good fit for the patient, which I had experience with that a few years ago, um, where I had one counselor that was great. We rocked out, and then all of a sudden they had to leave because apparently they were trying to continue their education and get a doctorate. Um, and somebody else came, and I did not vibe with this lady at all. It was just not happening. And the people that were part of the program, they because I was in the program instead of an actual like a counselor that my insurance is paying for. Um, the people that noticed it, they were just like, hey, come here. Can we talk to you? Is there something? Because like we feel like that you're not really as engaging as you were before. And I'm like, well, I don't. This lady is kind of like off-putting to me. She's like dictating what I need to do instead of actually asking questions and stuff like that. So I definitely like. I agree with that. Like, it definitely is something that has to be a fit. And again, this was a program, so there was no consultation period first to go through. It was just straight up like, we're going to shove you in this room with this complete stranger that we expect you to open up to after you had 6 months with somebody else who was totally awesome. But
It was a you get what you get type of situation.
yes, yes, it was definitely one of those like, we're like, oh, she's not around, she's available, you're going to her now. And hopefully this works out. Oh, it didn't. Not my problem.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
um, so you have two books. What is your latest book that's out? Is it self care workbook?
Yes. So right now it's just one workbook that's out, and it's the Simple Self Care Solution. And what it is a self care workbook. It's to help. Well, it's directed towards women, but really anyone can use it. And what it does is I focus on different areas of self care. So I have a section that's devoted to mental care, physical self care, social self care, um, professional self care. And in each section, first you start off taking an assessment to see where you are in that particular area. And after you take the assessment, then you go through a series of activities to help improve your self care in that particular section. Because what could, as you mentioned, we talk about self care a lot now, and you hear about it a lot. But what people don't understand is so many different areas of self care, and self care isn't just go and get a massage. It isn't just doing things where you go and spend money, but it's also doing
Right.
things for your overall well being. And unfortunately, self care is sometimes doing things you don't want to do. So when you think about boundaries, you don't want to set up boundaries with family. So for me, for example, I'm very close with my family. So saying no, I may not want to say no sometimes, but a part of my self care is having to say no because it's pushing me past my limits or past what I'm able to do.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I like that. I like that, and I like how your audience is what you're gearing towards is women, which I think is such a big deal. And hey, I'm not a man, I'm not a woman at all. So, but I do see how this healthcare system is just so like biased towards it. Then when we get into LGBTQ and all that, it's just the system itself does not know how to um, help people that are not men. Really, the men I see a lot that there's a lot more options for men compared to women. And then when there is a place that's trying to gear towards it, it's turns off being like biased or there's just some negativities implications going on. So that's dope. How can they find your book? Is it on Amazon? Do you have it like at a Barnes and Noble?
Yes, it's listed on Amazon. And also, if you follow me on social media, and it's always amazing CC, Instagram and Facebook, I
Hmm.
have a link in my bio that will take you directly to purchase the book directly from me.
Okay, yeah, word. So I'll definitely make sure I put that link in the description. This video probably will drop like sometime in October. Unfortunately, because crazy scheduling. um, but I'm definitely going to make sure I link that in. And then your other book, you have the Simple Self Care Solution. Um,
That's the
what is?
workbook. That's the
Oh,
self care
okay.
workbook. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh man, I'm sorry. I reread it.
Yes.
I read it wrong. I thought there were two titles, but it was actually one title. Okay. Do you have any
Yes.
other books that you're working on?
I'm actually working on a digital goal saving planner.
Mm-hmm.
So what this because in October I will be doing a self care workshop. It's online. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure if it will happen by the time this podcast is released, but I'm giving the people that attend the workshop a free digital goal saving planner, but also I will be selling this planner too, and it will
Hmm.
also be on my profile. So by the time this podcast is released, it possibly will be out for wider audience, or it'll be coming out soon.
Okay. 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 Wow, that's really dope stuff. Just like just spreading awareness, getting the word out. Your your friends. Do you have? Do you sometimes have to go to your friends and tell them to like, yo, you need to take some time, and or like, do you end up being like, you know how there's the papa or the mama of the friend group that keeps everybody together and stuff like that? Do you find yourself being that person sometimes?
It's a balance. So one thing, I think when it comes to my friends, we don't talk as often because we understand. I mean, we're all busy. We're all adults. We all have our lives. We all have our things
Mhm.
going on. So it's not those, oh, why you don't call me? Where have you been? It's almost like, okay, when we talk, we talk. And when we don't, we don't.
Mm.
But m- maybe 90% of my friends, they are in therapy, which is great. So I don't have to, of course we talk about things, but I don't have to be like, girl, you need to take care of yourself, because
Mm.
they're already on this journey understanding what self-care is to them. So
Mm.
no, I mean, like, we're all practicing self-care in our own special way.
That is absolutely beautiful. Let me tell you how great that is to hear that. You know, like God, the people you probably hear about, because I know I hear all the time, like Jesus Christ, it's like if I could just talk to this guy and tell him to relax. Just,
Yeah.
it's not all that simple, man. You know, I don't have a therapist anymore, but I do have mentors that I go to. And I every time I have an issue, I hit them up, and they're always available and stuff like that. And they give me their insight, and then I'm like, okay, I can. This is the choice. Do I either listen or do I not listen? Is it tough love, and is it not tough love? And if it's tough love, should I get the hell out of my mind and also try to take feedback from somebody else that has been on this earth longer than me, that has dealt with probably a similar thing that I've dealt with, which is why we're close together. And it's like the trust is that I think it's a big deal right there. The trust. Yeah, because sometimes you just I think some people, especially Americans. I'm just gonna. I always talk about us Americans because we are the oddball of the world. I see. We are so different.
And
Uh,
that's where I experienced that. You grew up in America, so
right.
naturally, you know Americans because you're here.
Right. So trauma is a normal thing for us. Uh, all that stuff. Those are things that we don't want to address, and we're raised not to address. And I love the dialogue now that they're like, okay, let's talk about it. Because before we were saying, oh no, that's just a white thing. Like white
Mhm.
people have mental health issues. We don't have time to think about that. But no, it's not just a white thing. Black people. It's
Yes,
not.
we have been conditioned to believe that, and even so much when you think about your upbringing. So if we were taught not to make mistakes, we were taught like mistakes are bad, mistakes were something to be embarrassed about.
Hmm.
Men in our community were taught to not express their feelings, to not
Right.
have emotions, to be distant. So now we're in the space. So I do work with females, but I also work with males. And one
Mm.
thing I love when I have my male clients, when you can get that man, like when he can his emotions and express his feelings. I think
Mhm.
that's so amazing. So like I be loving it. I'm like, oh, well, and we're working on relationship stuff and talking about those things.
Mhm.
And so those are some of my favorite type of people to work with, because when I'm working with males and like I'm seeing that growth in them, it's different because women, we're taught that our emotions are okay, but men are not
Mhm.
taught that. And when they learn that, that's just, oh my God, that's amazing.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, so and even like, so thinking about, well, yeah, with the mistakes, we're taught that, oh, mistakes are not to be made. So like if you drop and break something, you probably was fussed at as a kid, versus saying your parent talking you through it because it was a genuine accident. Now if you throw it, that's something different. But if you
mm,
make a mistake, that's okay because it happens. And
mm,
every
mm,
mistake doesn't need to be fussed at. So what happens is we learn that making mistakes is a bad thing. So when we make mistakes in the future, we try to cover it up. We don't want to acknowledge them. We do things to that can sometimes make the situation worse instead of saying, "Hey, I made a mistake, but I can also fix it."
right, right, right. And that's such a hard thing for people to do. Such a hard thing. To
Mhm.
one example I can think of is what happened with the baby. That was a lot. Just a lot of reactions. I don't know if you're familiar.
I was,
are you familiar with the baby?
oh, the
Yeah, yeah,
rapper,
yeah,
the
yeah.
rapper.
The rapper. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, I've I was as being an LGBTQ member of the community.
Mhm.
One thing I saw with him, it was like, okay, yes, he said some very uninformative, stupid shit. He kind of sounded like he was in the '80s with the AIDS thing because that's what people thought about in the '80s. But where
Mhm.
is the education now? Are people reaching out to this brother to let him know, like, bro, you, you, you just gotta chill. Like, let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? Instead of just the whole canceling them, they just kicked them off of tours and stuff, which is so biased because they allow so many artists that go on there that has content that is just as like hateful, but they want to give him shit about that. It just it comes off weird to me when we see, especially black people, like getting canceled that come from environments that are just traumatic as fuck, and you expect us to just automatically be like, okay, let's be PC now. Like, no, there's growth in this, man. There's a whole conversation that needs to be had in this, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah. So even like when I sometimes I have to take a break from the social media because when I see
Yes.
things from people always getting canceled, sometimes people make mistakes. And then one thing you can learn from that, you can never make people happy because they're always
Hmm.
trying to define blackness, and black
Mm,
is different from everyone. You said you live
mm.
in Connecticut, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm pretty sure your experience in Connecticut is totally different from my experience in South Louisiana. That doesn't make
Mm,
either one of us any more or less black. That just means we are who we are. Like it
exactly.
doesn't define us.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's exactly what the conversation needs to be. We gotta be more open instead of like ready to tear each other down because we just like to tear each other down a lot, and it's kind of sad. It's very sad, especially within our own community. And then that just gives the other communities ammo and to be like, yes, she said this, and I'm going to repeat it, and I'm going to say some more things about it. I
Mhm.
feel validated because this girl told me this, and she's black too. So I'm gonna go on Twitter and I'm going to say everything that she said and more, and just look even more crazy. It's just
Mhm.
it's too emotional. It's way too emotional. Do you have clients that has dealt with social media presence or um like just dealing with has have you had anybody that has complained about social media or anything?
All the time.
Yeah. It's a
And yes, and I've even worked with people where they social media probably could have helped them a lot professionally, which I
hmm
mean that's the purpose of it, right? But and that's how
right,
you connect with people. But
right.
because of so many bad experiences, they were like, no, I can't do the social media. And they strayed away from it because of those experiences. And also, they were dealing with hurt in the black community. So think
Mm,
about people who the black community was the one that hurt them. That's what they
mm,
needed healing from. So
mm,
it's yeah, and it's a lot. And just thinking about how social media, that image that it portrays, helping people understand social media is only a piece of the puzzle. So
mm.
naturally, people are only putting their best selves on social media, but you don't
Right,
know what happened behind closed door. You don't know about their struggle. So I may
right.
look at someone that's a therapist that's like or have a wider audience than me, that may be doing more than me, I can't say, oh wow, like they're doing so great. It must be nice. Why it didn't happen to me?
Mm.
Instead, looking at it from the lens of, I don't know what happened behind closed doors with this person. I don't know what struggle they went through. I don't know what their process was like. They probably worked 20 hours a day to get there. Like, who knows what their journey was like? So I can't judge my journey according to someone else's.
Right, right, right. And I like how you mentioned about like how the black community has hurt some individuals. I could definitely relate to that off of just being a queer individual who is also a huge pro black activist. It kind of comes off, depends on the atmosphere. It depends on the atmosphere of where I'm at. You know, when I grab the microphone and I start talking about like the police and all that stuff, they're like, yeah, oh hell yeah. And then how we need to like support black businesses and also build it and build a community that supports black people. And then when I mention black LGBTQ people, black trans people, they're like, they some people come up to me and say like, you don't need to talk about that part. What are you doing? We got to get rid. Then they try to like give me like a whole speech. You're like, look, we got to deal with this issue first before we get to that. Okay, you got to get to this issue first before we get to that. And what kills me is when they stop and realize that they shouldn't be saying anything. Is when I tell them like, yeah, I feel you on that, but it all coexists with the system. I got beat up by black men for when they found out I was queer, and it was black women that like were on my side and supported me. You know what I mean? So I think it's important, like when people like how you mentioned, like yes, the black community can hurt you. I think that's a very important conversation that we should have because it's such a big deal. It's such a big deal. You know what I mean? And it cannot be fixed if we keep thinking like separate. And I think we're raised to be that way because of like we come from a very trauma um origin country. This country is it's not what they try to make it be like in the books. Let's just say that. So it's like we have no choice but to like be like, okay, this is what we got to stick to. This is what it is. It's that tribalism. And if we like expand the tribe instead of like putting the tribe into categories, I think we can do a lot more better as a community. I just said a
Yeah,
whole lot, but I love to hear your input.
yeah. Like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. So let's look at one of my professors said in college, and it always stuck with me, was slavery was the worst thing that ever happened to black people, because what it did, it separated families. It took our identity away.
Mm,
So unless our parents immigrated from Africa, like recent, like unless we're first generations, we
hmm
know we're black, but we like Africa is a whole continent. Like, it's not a
yeah,
country. So
yeah,
like a lot of Europeans, they know their history, so they can say I'm Irish, German, that whatever they are.
right,
Us, we're like, we're just black. Like, and we can do the DNA testing, but
yeah, yeah,
that's, who knows how accurate that is. But
yeah,
so looking at that journey, so looking at our journey, it is built on trauma. So thinking back, even a lot of black people are still healing from slavery just through the generation. So trauma can be passed on from generation to generation. So even thinking about some black families with the single family households, the men not
mm,
being there, feeling as if men are not important to the family because that's what we've
mm,
been taught and conditioned
hmm
to believe. Also, thinking about it as a black woman, you can have kids, you can go to work, you can do it all, like just having the weight of the world on your shoulders
mm,
and being told like, oh, you're not you're not aggressive enough. I mean, like when you speak up and being assertive, you're too aggressive. But also when you're quiet and more reserved, what's wrong with you? Like, are you not
right,
interested in what I'm saying? So I did this Instagram live once before, And the title was Aggressive Wear because what I focus on is how black women are taught that if you don't, you have to speak up, but you can't not speak up. Once I was,
Mm,
I'm very quiet, so I do more observing. And once I was in
right.
this meeting, and the lady said, "Oh, are you not interested in what's been said?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Oh, because you're sitting there quiet." And I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" She said, "Oh, because me, I'm just so focus and I'm so into it. And, as a psychologist, I read people. And I'm like, okay, well, I've written down notes on pretty much everything you said. How does that mean I'm not interested? But what it meant
Wow.
was I wasn't responding how she expected me to respond as a black person because I
Mm,
wasn't overly talking versus people I know, black people that are more assertive, they come across as aggressive because they can speak their mind. They say what
right.
they want and what they don't want. That's not aggressive. That's just
Right.
being assertive. And that's
Right.
also a communication style, which ties into self care.
Right, right, exactly. I agree with that. I see that all the time in my job. Like the black women coworkers, they are just stern and they tell you exactly how it is. They don't sugarcoat it. They don't have time to even be nice to you. They just tell you like, "Look, this is stupid. I don't agree with this. Let's not do this." And one time a supervisor said, "Oh, can we have input without these attitudes?" And they looked at her like they were about to rip her.
Mhm.
It's like, did this bitch just say that? Let's have it put without these attitudes. I told you what is going on. If you don't like how I'm saying it, then you just gonna have to do
Mhm.
it. That is so
Yes.
real. And I'm just sitting in the background like, yes, tell these motherfuckers. Yeah. I don't even gotta say nothing. They already covering everything that needs to be covered. Damn it.
Yeah, so it's almost like we're put out there on our own and expected to be the one to do certain things. So it's almost like, yes, we do have to work twice as hard. We do have
Right,
to go above and beyond just to prove ourselves.
right,
So and the way that we're portrayed is when we're portrayed a certain way. So even thinking about media, how does the media portray black women versus
mm,
other women? How are black women seen versus other women? So when you look at all of those things, I mean, yeah, it's some trauma. Yes, it's some healing. Yes, it's a
mm,
lot of stress on trying to be the person that feels like you have the weight of the world on your back.
right. And one prime example, especially for the black community, is how the Black Twitter handled Meg The Stallion and Tory Lane situation. That definitely was very telling of like how much of a community that we need to like build more to protect black women because it was just I don't know if you saw any in the comments, but it was like brutal the way that they were just 24/7 just like defending him without having any case of the matter and then doubling down with just going to say, well, black women got attitudes. She probably attacked him. You don't know how aggressive she probably was. And I'm like, she goes to a university still and she just got her degree, right? I don't think that she is like what you think she is. You don't know her and she gets shot in the foot and you're automatically like, that's her fault because she had an attitude. Like that enough was just I was shocked. I was just shocked by that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you gotta think about all these famous people. We feel like we know them, but we don't really know them. Know them. We know the image they put out. So if you listen to Meg Thee Stallion music, and yeah, she raps about one thing, but we don't know what she's like behind closed doors when she's with her family. You find that a lot of celebrities are usually very shy people, even though they
Right,
don't seem like it when they're performing and in their music. But when they're
right,
alone, they're usually really shy. So, I
right,
mean,
right.
you can't really judge them based on them as a performer.
Right, right. They just freaked out about the music and the Cardi B's of the world, like how they're just getting very open to what their sexuality is, just like how men are, which I don't understand that issue. Is like they're so biased. And now they're just like a negativity towards these individuals. but like you said, you don't know how they really are behind closed doors. It could all be an act. There's a lot of wannabe gangster rappers that are not really gangster at all. And you you look at their background, they come from a rich family and, and they went to a nice university, and then it was like, you know what, I don't want this degree. I'm gonna go spit some bars. And then you see the real gangsters and you're like, oh yeah, he's different from this guy. Like that
Mhm.
guy seems very real.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
do you have do you find yourself repeating yourself a lot? I wonder. That's my that's one thing that just came to mind. Do you find yourself repeating yourself a lot to certain individuals, and do they get tired of you?
Do they get tired of me repeating myself?
Yeah, especially when you're defending your community.
Um, I do find that I repeat myself a lot. Do people get tired of me? I don't know. Possibly, possibly not. But hey, you know, I don't. If
You're like,
it's
I don't
something
care.
that I'm passionate about, I don't really care as much if they do get tired of me because what I'm doing is so. For instance, I do talk about self care a lot on my platforms because that's my focus. That's what I'm trying to help people
Hmm.
understand. So sometimes I was like, am I talking about self care too much? Then I thought about it. Maybe I am, but hey, people need to hear it. So
Right,
I may reach 5% one day, and the next day I may reach two additional people that I didn't reach before, and the next day I may only reach one person. But every day I'm reaching someone new, and hopefully everything I put out there that it can touch at least one person that can share and keep sharing,
right,
and that's how you get your word out there, and that's
right.
how you
I
get
like
your
that.
message out there. What people don't realize, like living in this day and age, we have so many opportunities for connection. We don't have to be like in our little small community. We can reach a broader audience. So why not try for it?
Right, right. And that's the total reason why I started this podcast, just for that, because it's all about reaching and it's all about just spreading awareness. Even if it's one, like you said, even if it's one person a day, even if it's two people a day, somebody heard you, somebody agrees with your message, and you just help somebody, and they just got it for free because you're a whole counselor.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, you just got a little session, a snippet for free, and that's
Right,
what I'm always saying. It's like this is a bonus. Like, so just imagine if you pay for it, what can you get? If you get this
right,
for free, you know the paid portion of it has to be better.
right. Yeah, right. And do you have to now? For those out in Louisiana that hears this, do you take state insurance for your consultations and your clients, or is there a
So,
state insurance in Louisiana?
so we do have Medicaid. Is that what you're talking
Hmm.
about?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so it's five different Medicaid plans, and I accept United is the only one I accept.
Mm, okay. So everybody out there in Louisiana, if you got that United and you need some help, I think you're kind of in good hands right now. Just reach
Yes.
out.
And but for private insurance, I do accept Blue Cross, Aetna, and Cigna, and
Okay.
United as well.
Oh,
And I'm
okay.
also
Okay.
licensed in the state of Texas too. So um,
How does that go? Do you do like video calls with people in Texas, or you do you like travel to see
video,
them? Oh,
video.
video. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, Texas is a whole nother situation on their own, man. You never know what them Texans are up to.
I mean, you never know what's happening next with Texas. It's one of those states that the other states just look like, okay, okay.
Texas and Florida, they get the Hall of Fame of best to find out the
You
hard
know
way.
what? I was talking to a friend of mine that lives in Texas, and she said, "Well, you know, if Texas like on board with something, that means it's serious." But because I think
Yep.
they were re-implementing the mask mandate, and she said, "If Texas trying to do it, you know it's serious because Texas
Oh
and
yeah.
Florida are usually the last states to follow through with stuff."
Right. Right. Oh, Texas is doing the mask mandate now. Really?
This was they were trying to. I don't know if it was
Oh, they were
back
trying.
in the day. They were trying. They
Well,
were
you know, Joe
trying.
Rogan's over there and he doesn't like the mask at all. He's like, and now he has COVID. I don't know if you know that. He just got
I
COVID.
did hear about it. I did. I did.
I was like, this guy, they about to rank him on the social media for a little bit. I hope he pulls through though, because it's a killer. I had a few friends on him. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely don't want to hear about, even if you don't, not a huge fan of the person, you don't want to hear about anything bad happening to them.
yeah. Well, that's being a good person. You know, you're a good person, so you don't want that to happen. But some people will be like, oh, it'll be a shame if that they was the croak.
Yeah, and you have to think about like what you put out there is the type of energy you put out there, it's the type of things you get back. So you do want to be a good person. You do want to be that version of yourself because how do you expect good things to happen if you're constantly wishing bad on someone else? So I'm not saying like do what's best for you, but also just focus on yourself and less on other people sometimes too. That helps.
Word. Thank you so much, Arkeria. Did I say your name right?
You
Arkeria.
did.
Awesome.
Arkeria.
Arkeria. Thank you so much, Arkeria, for your time. And I don't want to take any more else of your time. This was a very dope episode, and definitely would love to have you come back on the show anytime soon or anytime down the line and stuff like that. Definitely your plugins. Your Instagram. What's your Instagram again?
My Instagram is always amazing CC.
Always amazing, CC. That is very simple. That's not hard or difficult. Um, I hear the
I
most
couldn't put my
craziness.
name in it because my name is Arkeria and people always misspell my name. And sometimes
Mhm.
when I'm typing, I might misspell my name, but it's pretty easy to go back and check always amazing CC. And that's also my Facebook page.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Okay, dope. I'm definitely going to follow you as we speak. And do you have any announcements that you're about to, any projects that you're about to like kick off in this fall or in the winter?
Yes, I'm working on, as I mentioned, the self care
Mhm.
online workshop. And there I'll be going through planning, goal setting, creating a vision board, just helping you. I'm helping potential people that attend it prepare for the next upcoming year. That will be on October 16th, and it's online.
Awesome.
And also, I'm planning, along with business partners, we're planning a self care retreat, and that will be in February. It'll be in Costa Rica, and we'll be doing yoga,
Oh,
hiking,
nice. Wow.
meditation, mindfulness, just like a whole self care experience.
Wow. Costa Rica. That's real. That sounds fun.
Yes, yes.
Never left the country, so I'm jealous.
Ah,
Well, enjoy Costa Rica and definitely enjoy your Labor Day. Thank you so much for doing this and have a good day.
thanks. You have a good one as well, and thank you for having me.
Definitely. Thank you so much. This is an awesome episode. Can't wait for this to drop. I'll definitely make sure that I email you and hit you up with all the links that you need so you can be able to share it on your own platform. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. You have a great one.
You too. Have a good one.
My brothers, regain your consciousness and seek ye thy kingdom and his righteousness.